Hi everyone, this is the Speak Podcast. Welcome back again. Today we are here with one of my good friends called Nashon Okowa. He's a project manager, and he wears so many hats. But today he's here to join us. I will allow Nashon to welcome himself. Nashon, please welcome yourself.
Thank you very much. My name is Nashon Okowa. As Steve has said, I'm a project manager, I'm an author, I'm a family man. I do a lot of things. But for now, I'll speak as a project manager in the construction sector.
No, nice to hear from you. Nashon, we've been planning for you to visit the podcast for a while. And finally, this is happening.
Yes.
And I want to ask you so many questions about our topic today, which is due diligence in property, before acquiring property or land. But before we get there, can we discuss on your travels? What is one of these favorite countries you have traveled to and you've loved it and you want someone to go and experience it?
Steve, you're putting me on the spot, huh? Look, I'm fairly traveled. I can't say I'm that big traveler, but I've been to a couple of countries. Actually, I would say Zanzibar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would say Zanzibar. I've been to Zanzibar quite a number of times. And even this year I was in Zanzibar, so I like Zanzibar.
But I don't know if you've been to Lamu, because I've not been to Zanzibar. I've only been up to Dar es Salaam, and when in Dar es Salaam you see Zanzibar some distance away.
Yeah.
But Lamu has also some more of setups. You know, the cultural setup looks like Zanzibar. Have you been to Lamu and have you experienced Lamu?
No, I haven't been to Lamu. The farthest I've gone on that way is Kilifi Malindi. I haven't been to Lamu. And I don't know why I've not. It's not on my plans. Yeah, I think I need to add Lamu as one of my.
You need to go to Lamu because Lamu is one of the most magical places in this country, Kenya. And one thing about it is, of course, you know, I've also traveled widely, but Lamu has magical sunsets. That one you can take to the bank. And the culture and the food. I think you just find time to visit Lamu, actually. I mean, guys, nations will visit Lamu.
You know, the thing is, there are certain things, if you're born and bred in the village, they don't appeal to you much. And one of those could be sunsets. So, because growing up in the village as a boy who was looking after cattle, we saw a lot of sunsets. So, but look, I think I'll have it in the back of my mind that I need to try and visit Lamu.
No, I mean, we'll talk about you growing up in the village, because people who have grown up in the village always have excuses about the city as they compare their lives with the village, and it's fine. But listen.
No, and I think it helps. I mean, I'm one of the people, I can't buy guavas in Nairobi.
Really?
I can't buy sugarcane. I don't go to the park to see monkeys. Okay? Yeah. I mean, I grew up with monkeys. What am I going to see? What am I going to Nairobi National Park to see a monkey? So the things you grew up, done, finished for all those lives. So when you're an adult, I go to see tigers and lions. I mean, that's better.
It's fine. You don't need to shout about that anyway. But here is the thing.
Yeah.
Let's get into it now. I have friends, young at my age, with a promising work, and they have a promising future. And these friends of mine, I'll give you a simple, I don't need to mention name, but a friend of mine wants to buy a house. And he's been reading about you. He's been seeing the insights you've been sharing online. So John wants to buy a house in this city. You know, when I say in this city, quote the in city part. And he's been asking me, what do I do, Steve? If you meet Nashon today, ask Nashon, what do I do as John so that I can buy this house in this city? So what's the process like as a project manager?
Thank you very much, Steve. Now, one thing you need to tell John, that real estate has got rules.
Yeah.
Real estate investment has got rules. Whether you're going to buy a house for yourself or a house for investment, there are rules, and they're very punitive rules in real estate. If you don't follow them, you will end up as part of statistics of those who have been conned.
Wow.
Now, this is what John needs to do. If you want to buy a house, off plan, or even completed house, there are certain due diligence steps that he has to do.
Okay.
And I'm saying this on the backdrop that I know we have lawyers.
Wakili.
Okay?
Yeah.
But the loud cries and the weeping and gnashing of teeth that you've seen in real estate property buying is happening with lawyers existing, right?
Yeah.
There was a sale agreement and a lawyer involved. So it means having a lawyer is not enough anymore. And especially sometimes we get lawyers that don't even understand construction language. So they are as green as you are. Now, this is the thing. The first thing you have to do is you have to identify who you want to give your money. Who is this developer? Who is it that you want to give your 4 million or 5 million? Okay? So the history of developer becomes imperative as one of the key things you must tick off. What is their history? Which projects have they done before? Have they completed? Can you go see them? Can you talk to the buyers, or tenants of those kind of projects?
Yeah.
Who are the directors? Go and just Google. Okay? We have developers who are on their 6th name. So with the quick Google, you can see this company is changing names. There has been something wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes one director will poke up for you as someone scorning. Yeah. So find out quick analysis of who is this that you want to give your hard-earned sweat money.
Yeah. And then you talk about that. I mean, the question of adverts. You know, we've been in situations where we've seen, you've been told, oh, you're running late. Send 10 bob. Send your message. Send a message to this number. They'll get back to you. They'll take you to a site visit. You'll see the place. What do you take of the adverts that is also cropping up as a major tool of asking me or asking Jonah, who is my friend, to buy this house?
Now, I've always said we have to draw a line between marketing and lies. It's a line that as an industry we have to clearly draw. There's a difference between marketing and lies. Developers, first of all, if you can say that, Kenyans are very gullible when it comes to buying properties. I think it's our nature. It's part of it's in our blood. When it comes to buying property, we drop our guards a lot. We like forget about everything else, and we just wowed, and those emotions drive us through. And allow us to make very impulsive decisions that are not well thought through. Now, and the people that are developing, they know this. So there's those scarcity statements that you hear a lot in property. 80% sold, okay? 80% sold, starting at 1.2 million. You know those, you go see and say, but there's someone else. There's only one property left. So there's someone coming the afternoon. You better confirm. Those are what you call scarcity statements in real estate. And they know that Kenyans are gullible and they know you're going to fall for it. So they show you the render. If it looks very nice, billboard render, whatever it is, looks amazing. They wipe your emotions and then throw in the scarcity statements. There are only 2 units left. And after you, in the next 1 hour, someone else is coming to have a look at this.
And they're busy receiving calls.
They're busy receiving, yeah, of course. So they throw it in there and then you'll fall for it. Number 2 that they do is what we call staging of shows. Shows is a lot of staged developments. You go see a show house, they have spent 3-4 million on that interior. Okay? They make it the best furniture. You walk in, you're like, wow.
I want this.
So I always tell guys, do not imagine your own furniture, that's your rugged sofa set, in that. Don't look at this. You can't afford this when buying that property. Do not imagine those furniture as yours. You don't have that money. And what is in your house, you can bring in that house, is not at this level. So imagine your own furniture, your dining set, your sofa set, the way they are currently in that house. Because they stage it, the interiors look nice, but you don't have 3-4 million to throw into that interior when you buy a house. It doesn't look like that. So staging and scarcity statements, they wipe people out of it, and you're going to buy.
Well, I'm thinking now that you've talked about staged, let's call it a showroom. Because also in their marketing plan, they need to have a showroom to show you all that. So the question is, should I wait until the building is complete and then they tell me, hey, Steve, this building is now complete, going for 7 million, or let's say going for 2 million, and the other one was the off-plan. So now you pay a little bit until they close. Which one should I go in?
Look, off-plan is the most ideal way to buy property for a first-time homeowner. It has its own issues, Okay, and that's how due diligence come into effect. But if you done well, it's my preferred choice of buying a house for first-time owner now. Number one, is cheaper. If you're buying in a project that is 2 years, you're buying it 2 years before. Okay, by the time the project is complete, that house is not worth 7 million when it bought 2 years ago. It could be 9 something. So you're buying it cheaper. You can pay in bits. Those advantages are not there when you are buying a completed project. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3 is you can make some changes if you want, because it's an ongoing house. So if you don't like a closed kitchen, you could ask them to close it to be an open kitchen.
Or you could actually give recommendation when the house is still built.
Yeah. Developers these days are very flexible. If you don't like a closed kitchen, you could tell them, no, mine open. If you don't like an open kitchen, you could close it. You could even finish it with your own finishes. You could have your own tile or timber if you want during that process. You just need to come at the right time. Those advantages are only available in off-plan. Okay? They are not available when you go and find this is a house buy. So off-plan is the most ideal. But the bedrock of off-plan buying house is due diligence and vigilance. If you don't do it properly, you're going to gnash teeth a lot. You're going to weep.
Weep, oh boy. Listen, you're talking about that, the off-plan plan, and you're saying it's the best. What is wrong with buying? Because someone is going to ask me, what is wrong with buying a fully furnished house that is ready?
There's nothing wrong. If you have the money, you see, I talked about first-time homeowner.
Yeah.
When a first-time homeowner, you don't have the luxury of those kind of resources. Okay? A lot of, you look at our middle class, for example, we don't have the luxury of those. I have 10 million somewhere in my account ready that I can go and buy a house cash. Okay? That luxury is not allowed with us. And you see, you fee a mortgage as well. All right? So off-plan gives you the leeway of, I have 4 million I can put in, then I pay monthly. I don't recommend monthly, actually. I recommend milestones.
Yeah.
Monthly payment is a problem. Monthly payment is not pegged on progress. Monthly payment is the reason most off-plan buyers cry a lot.
Really?
Yes. Because monthly payment is not tied to progress. It's tied to months of a year.
Yeah.
When September comes, you pay. August comes, you pay. It's not linked to progress on site. So milestone is the best way to pay those. So pay 4 million, balance is 4 million, agree on milestones that if the project reaches, you pay. Those are milestones that are visible even to my grandmother. There's nothing scientific about them. Monthly payments is always a problem. So off-plan gives you those advantages. A lot of our middle class that are going to buy houses do not have the luxury of having the resources at once. Look, if you have the money and you can go buy a house at once, do it. But even at that point, you still need to do proper due diligence. You're not running away from due diligence. Whether it is a completed house or off-plan, the bedrock of all of them is due diligence.
You know, there's also so many houses being sold at the county level. Let's get to it. We have to. You know.
Affordable housing.
Affordable housing is another key issue. And I want, because I know my audience will ask me, Steve, why is it that you didn't ask Nashon about this? What are your thoughts around affordable housing, first of all? Putting you on the spot.
Look, I first of all, I agree with the government that the government cannot sit back when there's a section of the population that lives in dilapidated conditions. Okay, it's their mandate. So I agree that government needs to facilitate and provide housing to what I call the vulnerable. What I disagree with the government is the how. I do not think that the pedestal they are on in building affordable housing will help us address the vulnerable people in our society that need housing.
Really?
It won't.
And why? Because people are going to ask me.
I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain you this. First of all, there's this fixation with housing, with ownership.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think in our constitution, if we wanted Article 43(1)(b) to be about we need to own houses, we'll have said it. Government needs to provide housing, and it doesn't have to be owned. The people in Kibera, on Nkuru Kwanjenga, in Madare, are not, owning a house is not one of the first things they want.
Yeah.
They want to live in a house that is in good condition. At that same rent, they can rent it all through. Why do I think they will not build? First of all, I do not think they'll be affordable. Why? The cost of construction.
Yeah.
Government in the last 2 years, at every opportunity, they have been raising our cost of construction. So government is increasing cost of construction. Our land prices have gone up. Remember, government is not building the houses themselves.
Yeah.
They're getting investors.
Yeah.
So investors is building within this market dynamics of high cost of construction.
Yeah.
And then government is buying from the investor. Investor builds, marks up, makes his returns, then government buys from him. The cost of construction is too high to be able to build houses affordably for the vulnerable in our society.
Yeah.
That is why I think will they build houses? They will. You can't get 60 billion from housing every in a year and fail to build houses. Will it be affordable for the people that's supposed to be addressed under Article 43? The answer is no. Now, let's go to county houses. I know you're building some in Homa Bay.
Leave my county at home, please.
No, Steve, look. I mean, let's take even Homa Bay for instance. Even Kisii. I know there's somebody coming up in Kisii. Is housing a problem in Homa Bay?
No.
Largely, those are rural areas. There are a lot of people with their own houses. Housing is not one of the key things that the people of Homa Bay County requires. That resource of housing, those billions could be put in somewhere else. Maybe fishing industry.
Let me actually, before you even continue, we have a very bad road. I mean, for us, and I'm going to say this, probably the governor is going to listen to this, but for us in Homa Bay County, in any other county that is is remote, I think accessibility to good roads, infrastructure of good roads, is very key to us. You want to go home with your car or with the public means, and you want to get home safe.
Completely.
You understand?
Agree.
So I agree with you when you say it's not priority.
It's not. Housing is not a... If you go do a house where I come from Moroni, that's Kisumu County. If you do a housing in Moroni, and I have heard there's some housing should come up in that area. I look at the schools in my village. I look at the roads in my village.
Yeah.
I look at
the other road you posted the other day.
Yes.
Yeah.
I might look at that road.
Yeah.
Look at the schools in my village. I look at the distance that women must travel every morning to go fetch water because there's no borehole in that area. Every morning and every evening, water on their backs. It's long distances. What is the priority in those areas? It's not a housing issue. Okay? Yeah. That's why, for me, I'd suggested government should have sat down beginning of the term and probably tweaked a bit the county, the CDF Act. Okay? And convinced MPs that maybe 30% of CDF in every year allocation, they could do those Ondoa Nyasi like the one Honorable Utinda Molo does. Okay? Through CDF, you could be able to address those widows in the villages that really have poor houses. CDF could address some of the things. But the national resources needs to go to key things. Education, water, health, dispensaries. Yeah, it's a big problem. So when you do those kind of houses and they say we're doing houses in Homa Bay, come on, it's not a priority for Homa Bay people. That's the truth.
I agree with you.
And number two is affordability.
Yeah.
Do Homa Bay people, if you look at their economic, has the capacity to buy houses at 4 million and 3 million? It will go to the people who have, probably the likes of Steve here.
Mimi sina kitu, sina uwezo, sina mamlaka, sina kitu. So back to it, Nation. Due diligence in buying land. We've discussed about property and we've just shared a bit of insights on that. How about buying land? Some of us just want to buy it. We just want the land. We don't even want the title deed. What's the procedure around that?
Look, I have met a lot of buyers of property, both land and houses. And these are buyers who are weeping. I've seen so many tears in my office of couples who took their own resources, drained, couples who took loans and drained. So these things have brought divorces, they've brought strain in marriages. These are serious things. Now, land is one of those things. And see, Kenyans, there's this cliche in real estate, you can't go wrong with land. It doesn't matter where you buy. I hear it a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't go wrong. Listen, you can really terribly go wrong with buying land.
What?
Now, let me take you to the due diligence of land. First of all, let me say this. Due diligence on land is not as such at land's office. Okay?
I'm listening.
That we used to do so many years ago, and it used to work. Where if Steve wants to buy a land, okay, in Lolongo, he gets his lawyer, take the title, go do a search, and that is it.
Yeah.
Proceed to buy. That era that we used to do those things,
It's gone.
it's long gone. Okay?
Yeah.
The people we're dealing with that are trying to con us have upped their game. So you need to up yours.
Okay.
Now, let me take you through a few diligence areas. Such is one of them. And I'm saying do not fail to do it. Do it, but that's one of the options. Number one, local administration. The chief,
Yeah.
the village elder, the border guys, the drunkard on the road,
Don't say Mama Boga.
the mamamboga. Okay? They have an impeccable history of land in any area. People forget that even in Nairobi we have village elders. We have Mijikumi in Nairobi. We have chiefs and assistant chiefs. Okay?
Yeah.
So visit those offices when you want to buy land. Take your time and go visit those offices and say, I want to buy that land. You'll get history. They know everything. But the border guys around that area.
Do you need to go to these offices, especially governmental offices, with the person who is selling you land, or you go alone?
No. Due diligence on land, you do it on your own. The onus is on you as a buyer to carry out this due diligence. Usually in sale agreements, they give you a duration to carry out due diligence.
Okay.
So this is a period where you do it yourself.
Wait, you've touched on that. I want us to get that.
Yeah.
So if you get a sale agreement that does not give you a period to do due diligence, if you get a sale agreement that does not allow you to do due diligence or give you a period to do your due diligence, in most cases they give you a week.
No. I think you need to see some of these things. I say it's important for you to understand the process. Usually what happens is this. A lot of sale agreements will give you this. They'll say, okay, you want to buy land. Okay, it's 4 million, put down 200,000. And then that 200,000 is usually there's a caveat. You put a caveat on it and say, in case I do my due diligence and this thing is not right, you'll have to refund the 200,000.
Okay.
Okay?
They should refund you the cost.
Yes.
Okay.
They should refund you that deposit you had put because the land is not good. But after that, the agreement needs to state that from the date of payment, then you give them like 2 weeks, 14 days to carry out due diligence on the property or on the land. Okay? It doesn't mean you'll take 14 days. If you take 7 days, if you take 3 days, well and good. But 14 days is a good period that you should be able to carry out thorough due diligence on the house, on the land. Then pay the balance once you're convinced that it's good land.
My wakili, people say a quick one. Those people, those moments where people say a quick one wakili. A quick one wakili, you present a quick one. You tell a wakili, a quick one wakili. Then you present wakili with your sale agreement. Then your sale agreement has given you a period of due diligence, but your wakili will not tell you they need to refund you this money if your due diligence does not, if the cost of due diligence does not match, if your cost of due diligence is not what you're looking, does not
match the deposit.
Yeah. So how do you go about that? Because that's also another key area.
No, the thing is, the due diligence needs to be on you. Okay? So if you want to have 10 lawyers doing due diligence, that's on you. If you want to hire Nashon to do due diligence, and I've done a lot of due diligence on properties for people, a lot of times. I've done a lot on houses and land and all that for people who want to buy property. So you want to hire Nashon and think you can afford Nashon, come. I'll do it for you. Everything.
Is Nashon expensive?
No. I am not cheap. That's the thing. But again, cheap is relative.
Yeah.
We must disabuse this notion of people who want good services at cheap prices. Okay. How many times do you go to the doctor and negotiate you don't?
You don't.
Yeah,
There's
we
no
don't.
time for that.
Yeah. So I will give you quality, but you will pay slightly more than the market. So when you pay the deposit, have a due diligence period to check documents. Okay. Actually, me sometimes I go even the other way. Before my client buys the house, I do diligence first.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm representing that client, I tell the other party, give me all the documents, due diligence as fast, because I can do it as fast as possible. Then by the time he's paying the whole thing.
Wait, you've talked about you asking your client if your client wants to buy a house. In one of your book, I'm going to ask my crew members to give me one of your book here. You've said, you're telling people, don't buy that house. That's how people read this.
Oh, yes. Yeah, don't buy that house. Don't buy that house.
For those who don't know, this is the book, and the author is actually here.
Yes.
It says, don't buy that house.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah. Because you'll burn your fingers.
No.
When I wrote this book, first time it came out, I got a lot of calls from developers. Said, what's wrong with you? You're spoiling our business. You tell people not to buy houses. I said, no. Go and read. You know the problem with the Kenyans? They say if you want to hide anything from a Kenyan, put it in a book.
Really?
Yeah. Kenyans don't like reading. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this book is straightforward. This book, the title actually came from an answer I gave a lot of my clients when they're buying property. Mm-hmm. You do diligence for them and you tell them, don't buy that house, don't buy that house, don't buy that house, don't buy that house. So it's an answer I gave so many times to clients who are buying properties because those properties were not in good condition, both legally and otherwise.
Yeah.
So don't buy that house is purely a guide on how you can buy a house or plant. There are 7 areas. I talked about history. You need to check. You need to check approvals. You need to check the service charge. When people buying houses, they don't check service charge. They don't confirm how much you pay as service charge.
Yeah.
They just say, I have a heated pool, high-speed lift. You pay for them in service charge. I have friends of mine who bought houses. They were paying service charge equal to their rent after moving out. What? So you know what they did? They rented the house they bought again and went to rent.
You're renting to rent.
Yeah, so check service charge. Check the financing model of the project. There are projects in this town that are 9 years, are not yet be completed. So in the book, I talk about those 7 areas that you need to thoroughly check when you're buying a house off plan.
Does it talk about, sometimes back me and you discussed, and this was on public domain, so we can go ahead and mention names anyway. English Point Marina was acquired by KCB Bank. You remember that story? And why? It's because, was it because of due diligence?
There was a loan that English Point took with KCB, but the buyers did not know. I've written articles on that area that I think it is time we have a law in this country that developers must disclose loans they have taken on the title to the buyers.
Yeah.
There's English Point Marina, there's the Sandbad, the Boulevard Estate versus I&M. Recently there was the Ederman and KCB, all those properties. The thing is, buyers are not aware that the developer borrowed on the title. And most of the times, they borrow more than the house's prices. So even if I collect all the sales, they still a loan.
What?
Yeah. So for example, I borrowed 200 million as a developer. I put the title as security. And I know all the properties, if sold, it will give me 160 million. They still have 40. So even if the buyers clear all their payments, they still have 40 million on the title. And those buyers, and you see it's charged to the bank. The bank will just repossess unless the buyers must go back to their pocket again. So I think government needs to come up with some regulations around those things, that a developer must disclose to a buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah? If they borrowed money and how much on the land they're buying. Yeah.
I want us to close this conversation, but it's not yet over. So I want to ask you 2 more questions, because this conversation is not going to end. Mm-hmm. This is not the first time you are doing this, and we're going to do more of this.
I'll be back, definitely.
So I want to ask you 2 more. One is, you told me something that was off record, but I want us to bring it on record here. Okay. That you say that what people fear most is not even buying the houses. They fear to be conned. Why?
We did some studies some times back and asked a good number of people, what is the biggest concern when they're buying property, both land and houses? And number 1 reason was fear of being conned. Look, we are a third world country. We are a country that is still work in progress.
Yeah.
Okay? we are a country with ethics deficit. Okay? So that fear is very informed, and we've had a good history of a lot of buyers who have lost millions of shillings in real estate. I mean, there's been a lot of weeping in this sector. Off-plan buyers, duped. There are buyers that I know with 9 years, projects not yet completed, and they're paying loans, paying rent. Project is 9 years, 5 years down the line, not yet completed. So there's a lot of genuineness, okay, with people who have been conned. A lot of developers have done that. So that fear is out of what has been what buyers have seen. So the primary reasons why concern for most Kenyans when buying property is fear of being conned. And that's why due diligence is important. That's why I wrote these books.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lastly, Nashon, I can't get enough of this. We've not even covered the details in land, actually. We've just touched on it. But I'm looking forward to having you in another podcast conversation. And I want to ask you, so then what next after buying a house? You understand? What next? Because I've bought the house. How do I move forward with it? Because sometimes you just buy a house and you probably want to live in it. You know, there's so much social pressure on us as young people.
No, let me say this, because it's something people do not say a lot. And it's something we need to really disabuse as a country. Sometimes it's just an incredibly good financial decision to rent the rest of your life.
Wow.
Yeah. You do not have, there's these fixations with home ownership in this country. And it's driving people into a lot of debt, driving people to stealing and conning. Sometimes it's just incredibly good financial decision to rent the rest of your life. There's nothing wrong with it. If you can afford, because you put this pressure on people, like home ownership is the highest achievement in a country. Let me give you something. In Europe, and you can go check, the countries with the highest home ownership rates are the poorest.
Yeah.
Romania, Albania. Yeah, look at those countries with the 98% home ownership. Switzerland, which is one of the most transformed country, only 32% of people own houses. So sometimes, even if you have the 8 million to own a house and you have a very good rental property somewhere that is cheaper, okay, take 8 million, put it in a business somewhere and continue to rent. There is nothing wrong with renting a house for the rest of your life. And it's something we must begin to tell our people so that we don't make these egregious financial decisions that we are making in this country. House ownership comes with cost.
Yeah.
Now we have the Section Properties Act. Okay.
Okay.
Now there's a levy on it. Even if you live in an apartment, it's a title. So every year you're going to pay something to the county.
What?
Yeah. Maintenance costs. There's a lot of costs that come with home ownership that people don't talk about. Service charges. I talk about it in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's service charges for houses. So there's of course that you could say come up in rent. But when you begin to own a home yourself, if you are in your own property, for example, the cost of the watchman there, if you are in an apartment, you are sharing that cost of security. Now you could be individually on your own. So owning a home it's costly. People don't think about it. That sometimes it's just good to rent the rest of your life. And you must begin to tell people that. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's okay.
Very okay.
I want to jump into your second book that you also brought here, because I think there's so much insight you're sharing, and probably people just need to read. You know, people need to read and get it. You know, the next book you talked about is the rules of real estate investment.
The 7 rules of real estate investment.
The 7 rules of real estate investment.
Yeah.
What are some of the insights you have shared in this book?
Now, in this book, I said the first one is on duty. It's on off-plan. In this book, now I take you through the journey of, if you want to invest in real estate, how do you do it consciously? How do you bulletproof your money to make returns? Okay? So whether you want to begin by building yourself, a property you're building, whether you want to buy an apartment and put Airbnb on it, what are those boxes that you have to tick to bulletproof that investment? There are 7 rules of them. Okay? So I've gone deep to discuss the 7 rules that you need to follow before you invest in real estate. Whether it doesn't matter whether you're building it yourself, whether you are buying it for Airbnb or for rental, 7 rules of real estate investments.
Where do we get these books?
So these books, for those out of the country, they're on Amazon. You can buy them on Amazon. Locally, you can go to Nuria Bookstore. You can go to Kibanga. You can get it from ourselves, from myself directly. I'm on all social media platforms. So Nashon Okowa, search me, inbox, you'll get the books. On Nuria, Kibanga, Amazon, all of them have the books.
Last but not least, Dead Capital. What's your thoughts?
There was that debate last year. Is it last year or this year on the people in Nyanza who build houses?
Yeah.
And someone said, "Oh no, we should not build houses in the village. That is dead capital."
Yeah, they said that. I was not happy with this.
No. I think someone who says that is not someone who is very informed. Yeah. Homeownership in this country is very emotional.
Okay.
One of the most difficult decisions that I've had with clients, even when advising clients, is when they're buying a house that they're staying in. It's very personal. It's very emotional. And someone who talk about the capital of houses, for example, in the village, do not appreciate our cultural diversities. Where I come from, I know that's where you also come from.
You come from Oroni.
Those are like fundamental things that must be done.
Yeah.
It is almost blasphemous not to have a house in the village.
Yeah.
And it's
a taboo, actually.
It is what makes us Kenya. It's what makes us. It's what makes the Luos. They're just those things that are ingrained in them, and could be different from the Luyas. The things that Luyas have hold very dearly, that Kikuyus do not hold. Okay, so it's our diversity. It's who we are, and home ownership for us is at the core of who we are. So you don't dismiss it because you come from a certain place or a certain angle. It's just your opinion, but for me, I also felt offended with that.
No, I honestly don't think having a home back home is dead capital. It's like traveling long distance. I travel almost 6 hours on the road just to get home. The home feeling cannot be matched with even living in Nairobi.
And someone wants you, when you go home, you take another trip in the evening with the kids to go sleep in a hotel.
Hey, it's a taboo, Bana. It's a very big taboo, you know. So
yeah.
It's so nice having you here,
Thank you.
I hope we have another conversation on the future of property, the future of real estate in Kenya, or rather in Africa. I've seen you in so many platforms discussing that.
Yeah.
So I think I want to host you here next,
Okay.
and we want to have a conversation about the future of real estate in Africa.
Anytime.
Yeah?
Anytime.
Ladies and gentlemen.
But for those who want to buy property, please take time on due diligence. Take time. This country is not full. We are almost 600,000 square kilometers of land. There's a lot of land. Okay, it's a lot of land. So take your time. If you're not convinced about a property, do not be in a hurry because it's going to go tomorrow. Let it go if it has to. But tick all the boxes in buying land and buying houses. You will not regret.
Where do people find you?
I'm a public figure. Look, as I said, I run a company called Beacon Africa Consultants. We are online as well. We do a lot of this due diligence stuff, real estate advisory for those who want to build, who want to buy property. I'm also available online on all social media. You can reach me out. My number is public. Just Google my name. My number will come there as well. Okay. My number is very public. Reach out. Let's discuss what you want to do. We'll help you.
Thank you so much for coming, Nashon. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Nashon joining us, and the insights he has shared has really shaped a perspective. I hope my friend who is John is going to take this seriously and do his due diligence. Until next time on the next podcast, see you and bye.